Welcome back, Dan. It has been a little bit. We took the week off while I had my buddy Neil in town,
No,
and there was a 22-hour coup in Russia that failed. Anything else going on with you?
no, not really.
Yeah. Watch any good movies while we were not watching movies regularly?
Well, I just kind of caught up on some of the newer releases. I watched John Wick 4, which is remarkably similar to the other three John Wicks.
All right. So let's go through this quick if you can. Do the
Yep.
old 5-star rating and did you like it? You got that for your
Uh,
John Wick 4?
I'd probably give that a 3, mainly because I like the choreography, the story, and all of that's nothing special. The acting is decent. It's got Bill Skarsgård in it as one of the main villains, as a
Mm-hmm.
Frenchman actually, and
Ew.
yeah, he does pretty good. Yeah,
But pretty much on par with all the other ones?
yeah, I'd say it's slightly better than, which is rare for a fourth edition in a series, but yeah,
Yeah, it seems like it's pretty consistent with people. I watched the first one and thought it was fine and never ended up watching the other ones.
yeah,
But yeah, I wouldn't say I disliked it or anything. I just don't know if it appeals to my sensibilities as much. Maybe
yeah.
one day I'll get around to it. What else did you watch?
I binge watched all of Black Mirror episodes.
Hmm. These are the newer ones that got released or something
Yeah,
like that?
yes, the newest season. I think it was released, I don't know, maybe a week or so ago. And they're okay. You know, they're moving slightly away from the sci-fi stuff. I mean, it is still sci-fi oriented, but they're moving it more into like an episodic, um, similar to like say the Twilight Zone kind of thing.
Hmm. Like just
But it was okay. You know,
not as much sci-fi, just kind of weird concept kind
yeah,
of
like
stuff.
one of them, it has like a demon theme, and one of them has like
Hmm.
a werewolf theme, so it's not strictly sci-fi anymore.
Oh, that's interesting. Because in a weird way, there was plenty of Black Mirrors that had an effect on me, like the Prime Minister Pigfuck one, and
Yeah.
you can record stuff with your eye. So that guy that has
Hmm.
his like wife cheat on him, and he just keeps reliving it or whatever.
Yeah.
But generally, stuff like that, like dystopian future sci-fi, it's interesting. I don't like it much. It's not that I don't think it's good. It's just it makes me feel icky,
Yeah.
and I tend to be a glass half full, positive about technology in the future.
Yeah.
So there's, I guess maybe I've had like friends in my life that get really dystopian really quickly with technology and like, oh, see, it's if humanity just went back to being like primitive, it would be all good. And I'm like, ah,
Yeah.
yeah, all the rape and murder and worshiping ancient gods. Yeah, that was great. But so yeah, I don't know. It's another one that doesn't initially scratch my sensibilities, so I don't tend to watch them. So I'm intrigued by the werewolf thing. Do you feel like they pull it
Yeah.
off?
Um, it's not bad. I mean, as far as the litany of shows there are out there, I'd say it's in the top half of, good shows. I think it's worth watching. And I mean, a few episodes, don't really hit, but that's
Or
just the nature of anything that's episodic like that.
yeah,
And, they're just nice little self-contained stories. I like shows like that. I like, the Twilight Zones and the X-Files and that kind of thing. Because I mean, even if the episode's not great, it didn't waste a ton of your time.
yeah. Um, do you like this new season of Black Mirror more than most of American Horror Story?
Yes, I would say that.
All right, it's pretty like American Horror Story. I found moments where I enjoyed it, but ultimately felt it was kind of like trashy TV.
Yeah, and it kind
And
of seemed it to fade as it went. It
yeah,
started off a lot stronger than it's been.
yeah. I think the last thing I watched of that was the election year one, and it was like the first episode. And I'm like,
Yeah,
I don't want to be in the headspace of this.
yeah.
Like, yeah. So yeah, maybe I'll get around to a Black Mirror episode. Maybe you can show me some key ones.
Yeah.
Uh,
Have you seen the other seasons?
I've seen episodes here and there. Maybe I've
No.
seen
Okay.
the whole thing of the first season or something like that. Um, and that is kind of an interesting thing. Like, the more we get into this like golden age of television, and there's just so many options and everything, and it really seems like some shows are just so much better than a lot of the movies that are getting put out these days. I'm
Yeah.
still at the end of the day more of a movie guy, and
Yeah. Yeah.
I have grown a little tired of the stringing me along of TV. Always like a
Yeah.
little bit of
Yeah.
a cliffhanger every episode, or what's going to happen next season. And so I have been more into like, you know what, I don't know if I give a fuck. I'm down to jump in and watch one particular episode if it has a somewhat of a contained story.
Yeah.
So I heard on one podcast I listened to, Sunday Papers, these two older kind of boomery comedians I like, Greg Fitzsimmons
Hmm.
and oh man, I always Mike Gibbons I think I always forget his name. But
Hmm.
they were talking about one episode on the show Last of Us,
Hmm.
where it was the gay romance episode.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
That they were like, you should just go watch that, whether you want to watch this whole series or not, just because that episode is so fucking good. So I've thought about watching
Yeah.
that, and then a couple other key episodes. I remember with the show House of Cards, there was one really obscure episode where they have Tibetan monks in the White
Hmm.
House doing a piece of art, and it's the type of art where you like do it in sand, and then after you create this masterpiece, you let it go into the river. You destroy it at
Hmm.
the end of it, and like the metaphor of that, I couldn't tell you the details now because it was years ago when I watched it, but I just remember that particular episode having an impact. And yeah, or Seinfeld's The Contest, classic standalone episode. Master of my own domain. But yeah, sorry, that was a little bit of a tangent, but I think I'm down to like check out some Black Mirrors and this and that without investing in the entire season.
Yeah.
I think we might have talked about it on the podcast before, but I'm having a hard time deciding how and when I'm gonna get into Succession.
Yeah.
It hasn't really grabbed me so far, given I'm only 2 or 3 episodes in.
Hmm.
So I don't know. It's like another one of those things where it's like a bunch of rich fucks moaning and bitching. I don't know if I care. But it's well acted. It's funny at
Yeah,
times.
yeah.
How far have you
The
gotten in that?
subject, oh, 6, 7 episodes or so. I've been kind of slow walking it.
Yeah.
It hasn't really grabbed me either. I mean, I recognize that it's extremely well done,
Mm-hmm.
but it's the subject matter is just not terribly interesting to me.
Yeah. I think that's totally fine. Like, I mean, another example I can think of, I think, is the Queen.
Hmm.
That a lot of people like that and are fascinated by it, but it's like I could sort of care less about the subject because I have a kind of a distaste for monarchy and like royalty like that.
Hmm.
And unless it's like covering a very significant event in like the 1400s or something, like something I kind of don't know about,
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I'm good. Like I remember doing kind of a deep dive, like what's a good show or a movie, and maybe you got an answer that I couldn't find about the French Revolution.
I mean, besides Les Mis,
Yeah, because Les Mis is
and that,
not the filter I want that through.
yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm sure they exist. I can't think of one off the top of my head.
Oh, so this is skipping ahead to movie news ish type territory, but it is like old news. So
Hmm.
we could just talk about it now. But you've seen all the details about um, Joaquin Phoenix playing Napoleon.
Yeah, in Ridley Scott's new movie.
Yeah, yeah, I'm intrigued by that. So yeah, there's like that. That's a bit of a tangent there, but the Queen, I don't really give a fuck. But it's like, all right, Napoleon, Joaquin Phoenix, a movie. I'm a little more into it. So certain things I like in movie form. Maybe if there was a movie called The Queen and it's played by, I don't know, isn't it Judi Dench in the show?
I think so. I haven't seen the show,
Yeah, I don't even know.
but that wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, and yeah, so a movie about the Queen starring Judi Dench. I don't know if that pulls me in, unless it's like directed by Fincher, and then I'm like, okay, I'm listening again, or like whatever. But was there anything else you watched worth mentioning?
No. No, I don't think so.
Okay. Well, then let's bust through some of the weird, wacky bullshit we watched while Neil was here. And I'm gonna do brief overview and rating and see if you've watched it. I'll let you know if you should check it out. So, first thing we did was we watched The Stuff.
Yeah.
That I was like, alright, gotta show you guys this. And have we
Didn't we
just.
watch that together?
Yeah, you and me watched it.
Or just recently? Yeah.
And they were like busy doing something, so they didn't watch it. And I was like, they are gonna love this. And particularly the little boy being Shocky, I was like, see, that's you, Shocky. Just, you won't try the stuff like the rest of it. And we were like saying, it's like, yeah, this is just like us with Arby's. It's like, come on, Shocky, they have the meats. Eat it. And he's like, no. And um, so they ended up liking it. They questioned
Oh,
me.
I'm glad.
And I was like, no, trust me, you're gonna fucking dig this shit. It's not only like a weird, funny B movie, even C level movie. It like has this weird message that you'll dig. So then Neil showed us Stepsister from Planet Weird,
Huh.
which we've discussed the DComs, the Disney comedies. This one, at some point, we're gonna probably have to show you because it is particularly funny and like really weird. It might be one of the best ones I've seen. It's definitely like stupid, but
Well, it's a decom.
yeah, but it's like particularly weird. And I mean, it's Stepsister from Planet Weird, so it works. But like some of the narrative choices they make, like the way they unravel the plot and change perspectives, and just the acting choices, since basically one side of this family is aliens. It's kind of funny. Yeah. So I gave that 3 stars out of 5, and I liked it. Then I showed them the movie Uninvited. Did I ever show you that, or have you seen that?
I don't think so. I'm gonna look it up here. Probably not. The name doesn't sound familiar.
Yeah, it's a 80s low budget movie where half the film is teenagers sneaking onto a boat with these rich Miami Vice type drug dealers. And so there's that part. It's like weird crime thrillery, this and that.
Hmm.
And then also a cat sneaks on board that's a mutant poisonous cat that has a weird mutant monster cat inside of a regular cat. And it'll like come out of its mouth and attack people. And it can like poison like the food source and stuff. So it's like if it touched any of the food and somebody eats it, like their neck will swell up and all this crazy shit. So it's weird because all the cat stuff, the poisonous cat stuff is awesome. Like just that perfect kind of like terrible old horror movie kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Stupid like hilarious low budget stuff, weird action choices. And then it devolves into sort of funny, coked out 80s teenagers and weird creepy drug dealers hitting on them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I give
Did it,
that 1.5 stars, and I like it a lot.
was that a TV movie or did that ever make it to theaters?
um, I don't know. I guess it would have been theaters, probably limited release, because 1988. I don't know if they had like straight to DVD type stuff.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, no DVD, but yeah, I don't know. Did they ever put old shitty movies just directly out on VHS?
Yeah, they probably started that around the late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah.
Because Disney had a run of direct to video stuff
Okay.
around that time. And they probably popularized it, but I'm not 100% on that.
All right. Yeah. So I'm not sure about the background on it. I just remember the Red Letter Media guys watched it. I saw a couple clips of the weird puppet mutant poison cat coming out of a regular cat. Oh yeah, that's one thing of note is that they don't ever have natural sounds of the cat. They just have preloaded cat noises on like a keyboard. So whenever the cat comes into the frame, it's like meow, 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 meow. Like whoever's doing it is just overdoing it. Like just hitting it the whole time the cat's on screen. It's insane. But it's like one of those perfect bad movies to me. So I highly recommend it if you're in the mood for that kind of thing. Obviously, watch it with a group of friends. You'll have a way better time.
Yeah.
Then, I may or may not have taken some fun substances and turned down the volume on the movie Kung Fu Master Named Drunk Cat. And we may or may not have done the old Dark Side of the Moon with Wizard of Oz type thing with Gamma Pa. It's a thing we may or may not enjoy doing from time to time. It's just like Gamma Pa and Kung Fu. But as far as that experience went, I can't speak for the dialogue, music, or anything. But in terms of the plot, you could tell that was unraveling and the Kung Fu in it. It was really good. And it went with the music great. So
Hmm.
I would recommend watching Kung Fu Master Named Drunk Cat with Gamma Pa as your audio. But that's just me. And we then. Oh, I don't know if I told you. Guess what showed up in the mail?
Uh, oh, you got your Korean version of
Of the chase.
the chase? Yeah.
Yes. So we watched that, and I loved it. And it did the exact same thing it did to me when my buddies Jeff and Tucker showed it to me. Like it starts out and you're like, this is kind of corny. Like what is this?
Hmm.
And you're like already like it's right from the get go. It starts to move. It's one of those movies. It's just pedal to the metal the whole time. And yeah, it's all about how it just keeps one upping itself and then adding wacky character to wacky character to wacky character, and it's sort of a commentary on the overblown news coverage of
Yeah.
yeah, like if there's a chase on TV, like they'll overblow it. One thing, oh man, I'll have to look this up yourself, the listener, because I'll probably get the dates wrong. But this movie came out in June or something. Maybe you can look this up while I'm talking about it. To
Chase?
see when it came out. Yeah, The Chase, 1994. And the whole plot of it is Charlie Sheen kidnaps this rich girl who's essentially like the daughter of Donald Trump on the West Coast.
Hmm.
And so not only is he like on the road running away from the cops, he's kidnapped the daughter, and so the news coverage just blows up, and there's Anthony Kiedis and Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers in a car, like trying to vigilante and get him, and there's Henry Rollins is a cop chasing him, like, and then he has a camera crew in the backseat of his cop car, like the show Cops,
Hmm.
and so it's this overblown televised car chase movie essentially. And what's funny is that I think a couple months later in October, so this is where I'm not sure on the dates, the OJ chase happens
Oh,
in the white Bronco.
yeah. Yeah. It was released on March 4th, 1994.
The chase was?
Yes.
Okay, so then maybe if you want to look up the OJ white Bronco chase, when did that happen? But they were like, it was one of those weird things. We kind of talked about it, like Wag the Dog, where they're talking about the president trying to create a military conflict in order to cover up a
Yeah.
scandal, and then it happens right after.
June 17th was the
Okay.
OJ.
Okay, yeah, June. So I was thinking Chase was June, but all right. So yeah, the chase is March, and then OJ decides to do this wild, highly televised, overblown police chase in a white Bronco. And it's just like I love stuff like that. It's just so weird, like life imitating art, or vice versa.
Yeah.
Um. Anyways, that is a tangent, but a worthwhile one. Overall, as the movie goes along, I see Chalky and Neil getting more and more into it, and I was just like, "Sweet, the movie has the same effects." Like when you show it to people, like obviously it's a particular taste and style, but by the end of it, they're like, yeah, that's like a really fun movie. And it's just like, yeah, exactly. It wins you over by the end of it of just being this quirky, weird little thing. And only other note on that is the Korean. Somebody let me know that it roughly translates to Time Bomb Man. So yeah, the title on the cover is Time Bomb Man. Anyway,
When was Speed released?
I want to say I'm gonna guess. You should look it up. Let's see how good my trivia arm is. I'm gonna say 1992.
94.
Fuck. All right, they were both 94 then, huh?
Yeah.
Hmm.
I wonder if they were trying to kind of copy each other.
I. What did they call that in Hollywood? Maybe that's another thing for you to look up while I go over these. They're like sister films.
Yeah, like Ants and A Bug's Life, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Volcano, Dante's Peak, um, Armageddon, Deep Impact. So I wonder if, yeah, these could be sister films. And when I was reading up on sister films, this was years ago, so
Hmm.
it roughly, a lot of the time is because a lot of these scripts get passed around Hollywood and reworked and revamped.
Yeah.
And so then studios will have learned that another studio is developing a movie like this. And then they'll be like, oh, well, we don't want to buy that script, but we can totally rework and do our own version.
Yeah.
And it's so it's kind of competitive. I would say another good example of that in a more modern context. If you remember when Avengers did huge and Batman, or not Batman, Superman, or Man of Steel came out.
Yeah.
And then Avengers was huge. And so that was like the beginning of like, wow, this whole expanded universe thing could really work. So Warner Brothers immediately went into like, well, we got to expand the Superman thing. So they immediately made a Batman versus Superman. And they announced it
Yeah.
to like fanfare at Comic Con, and everybody's like, wow, we're not going to get a Man of Steel 2, just right into that. And then Marvel's answer to that was like, oh, well, because like the whole shtick of that was the verses of superheroes. Like Marvel hadn't done that yet.
Yeah.
At best, there was a fight between the Avengers in the first movie, like that was for like kind of playful and fun. And almost right after Batman and Batman versus Superman is announced, they come out and announce that they're going to do Civil War.
Yeah.
And it's like just completely studios battling out on ideas like this. The only thing I can say about the chase, though, because I have read up on it, it's directed by Adam Rifkin, who does a lot of B movies. One of my favorites is Detroit Rock City. It's a very personal, nostalgic movie for me. But I'm trying to find the name of the movie he did before the chase. If I can't find it, I'll just move on. But I think it's The Dark Backyard. And it's like a little weirder concept, a little darker, odd. And it didn't do
Yeah.
well at all. But that was when he was given a little bit more of a budget to do stuff.
Yeah.
And so he was bummed out by the that not doing well, so he immediately is like, I'm just gonna do a simple car chase movie, like, and just make it this simple kind of basic blockbustery type movie. And so I don't know, I wonder how much of it is a reaction or interaction with Speed, or if that's just like, hey, it's 1994, let's get some Hollywood guy and just make this silly little movie because my Artur type film didn't do well.
Yeah.
And all I can say is Christy Swanson's really hot in this, and I was very into her. But I looked into her nowadays, and now she's all MAGA Trumpy, and it's like, oh, god damn it.
Well.
Wah wah wah. I guess but that is what's also funny. That they say that in the film. It's like she's like the West Coast, or her dad in it is like he's like the West Coast Donald Trump. So yeah, maybe she was like that all along. It just didn't seem so bad back then.
Yeah.
Then I'll run through the rest of these. Neil was watching this movie called Legacy.
Decom?
I could bear no, it was just some random YouTube video, and I give it 1 star, and I don't like it. And the only redeeming factor of it is Tom Green shows up for a minute and has a very ridiculous Tom Green moment as a detective. And that's all that's worth mentioning about it. If you're a huge Tom Green head, maybe you'll enjoy it. But it was like really gross out teen comedy. Like, I'll give you an example. One of the characters is jacking off a dude at a party, and then this other girl comes up and that she doesn't like, who they don't want in the sorority. So she takes the man goo and rubs it on her mouth, and the girl's like, tastes like Post-it stamps. Ugh. It was really bad.
Somebody wrote that down in a script.
Uh huh. Uh huh.
They were like, "Yep, let's do that.
Yeah,
Let's film that scene."
yeah, that's disgusting. Let's go with it. Um, then later that day, we watched Blade, but
Classic.
we watched it while listening to the first three albums of Madonna because that's what the podcast Dudesy, the Dudesy AI, as part of their Patreon, like they did a little side episode where it made Will and Chad Colchin watch Blade with the first three
Yeah.
Madonnas. So it's like Bladeana. It didn't. It was funny because they loved it and they were going nuts, and it did go together pretty good. But as I was saying, Kung Fu Master named Drunk Cat with Gamma Paw went way better.
Yeah.
And way back in the day when I was in high school, me and my buddies used to like get super high and just pick one of my DVDs and an album and try to do the Dark Side of the Moon Wizard of Oz thing. I this the few I can remember off the top of my head is watch the Antonio Banderas film Original Sin with the album Big Dumb Face. That one's awesome.
Mm.
X-Men 2 with $3 Bill Y'all by Limp Bizkit was hilarious. Hmm. Those might be the funniest ones. All the other ones are pretty solid, but I think those are the ones that I remember we walked away from like, wow, holy shit. Why did that go together that well? So they were a little over enthused about that, but I will say, rewatching Blade, it had been a little while since I'd seen it.
Yeah.
I love that movie.
Yeah, Blade's great.
Yeah, and a lot of the CGI, as they mentioned in this watch along, which I totally agreed with, is some of it's really dated and bad, but
Yeah, of course.
it has a charm, and they tried with it. Like
Mhm.
when he sticks the weird whatever UV thing in them, and their head like swells up and gets all red.
Yeah.
It's like kind of cool looking, even though it's like really dated CGI.
Well, it was
Yeah.
probably one of the first modern superhero movie attempts.
Oh yeah.
If you count Blade as a superhero, I mean, I think he qualifies.
Yeah,
It's not
kind
your
of.
classic like Spider-Man or anything, but yeah,
Well, he's essentially like a Batman or the Crow, sort of dark
yeah.
anti-hero or hero.
Hmm.
And I always remember him popping up in like the animated Spider-Man show, and
Hmm.
yeah, but it was definitely like the thing that kicked off the superhero thing after it kind of died off. After
Yeah,
like Batman's not being like kind of goofy and weird.
yeah,
And then like they were trying stuff like the Phantom, which I still need to see. But I
yeah,
know that that didn't do great. Like they weren't huge hits. So this is like the first one that was like, oh wow, a bunch of people went to see this, and you can definitely see its influence on other movies. Like he does the
yeah,
superhero landing. There's a lot of Matrix vibes
yeah,
that like some scenes that are like, wow, that's Keanu walking into um the lobby with all the guns and
yeah,
stuff, like almost like shot exactly the same style. And yeah, it made me want to watch Blade 2 and Blade 3, even though I know that the 3 is pretty bad. But
yeah,
like 2 has its charm, and that's a Guillermo del Toro. That's
hmm,
one that I don't think he takes a ton of ownership of what the end product was, but yeah, I remember it being kind of fun.
yeah.
Anyway, yeah, and my favorite in Blade is, of course, the fat computer vampire.
Oh yeah, Pearl is her
Pearl.
name. Yeah,
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 that's so good. I see more. We're gonna get into the discussion a little bit, so I'll save it. But Superhero movies need more genuinely like weird shit like that.
Yeah.
Not just silly, goofy shit. Like what is that? Jesus Christ! Like I don't know. Real quick, I'll barrel through the rest of these. We then watched another decom, Lemonade Mouth, which is the name of a band that is put together by high school kids that meet in detention. And it's not as actually sort of interestingly made like Stepsister from Planet Weird. It's
Mhm.
just pretty fucking bad, but it is also funny. It has Michael McDonald, the Shooter McGavin from Happy Gilmore, the dad in SLC Punk.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like an evil principal, and he's on a Segway the entire time for no reason. And we were almost like, man, did he? The only way I'll do this film is if I get to be on a Segway the whole time. It's like really weird. And it's the. I think I'm gonna have to show it to Shockey. I might have to show it to you, but Shockey in particular because it's a band movie.
Yeah.
And it's just hilarious. They're like, I don't even know what to do down here in detention, and then they just wander over to some instruments and immediately like burst into the perfect rendition, like auto tune on the vocals, all this stuff. It's like you gotta believe it, determinate. And then like, anyway, I don't know if I'm any good at being a musician, and then, like one of them storms off, and it's like, I suppose if you could walk up and sound like a well-produced track immediately, you might be pretty good at music.
Mhm.
And then like they have like one show where they have one guy heckle them at a pizza joint, and the band breaks up because they can't take it. And the drummer like wants to fuck the bassist, but she's like no. And then he's like whatever, fuck you then. Total like incel like. It's got a lot of funny moments like that, but it's pretty bad. So I gave that a 2 stars. I liked it. Blade, by the way, I give 4 stars. It's just missing a tiny little something for me to give it 5.
Yeah.
Um, we then watched Chain Reaction with Keanu Reeves. Do you
I
remember
love
that
this
movie?
movie. Oh yeah. This is one of my childhood, nostalgia hits. I love this movie. I recognize all of its flaws and everything, but I just like this one.
Oh, all right, that's interesting because I remember I looked it up and Keanu Reeves ended up not liking the end product.
Yeah.
Like he was like, "What happened to the script I agreed to?" And it's not what came out, and so he's not a
Yeah.
big fan. And there's stuff I enjoy about it, but it was kind of like weird. Like I had a hard time following what exactly is going on.
Yeah.
Like not like it's just like I didn't feel like they thread the story that well. It was just
Yeah.
kind of
I can
Keanu
see that.
running around and like this is a weird bridge action scene, and then he's like over here and then he's over there. And given we were like watching it in the middle of the day and kind of doing our own things on our phone, or he's playing a game, but
Yeah.
I remember I just stopped to talk to him about something like somewhere in the middle, and then I came back to the movie. I was like, "Wait, what? Like, what the fuck happened?" Like, so I wouldn't say it was bad. It was just like it's just kind of weird. Like the technology is a little unclear.
Yeah.
Mm,
It is very vague.
yeah, it's like, is this cold fusion or like, wait, a nuclear fusion? I don't know.
Well,
A
they're
glass of
they're
water can charge all of Chicago.
they're extracting hydrogen from water
Mm,
with sound waves.
yeah.
That's what it is.
And free energy, and America
Yeah.
doesn't want the world to have that. Like, Do you know
Yeah.
what that would do to the world economy
Yep.
if there was just free energy all of a sudden? And then Charles, is it Brian Cox? That's the main dad in Succession.
Hmm.
He's like the big bad government guy, and Morgan Freeman's he's sort of a bad guy, sort of like, I'm just trying to make sure the economy doesn't fall apart, but I'm trying to take care of my
And
scientists too. And
you got your Rachel Wise in it.
oh yeah, And I'm just an adorable little physicist. What? Like, she's just cute as a button and caught up in
Yep.
all this drama. I forget the name of the movie, but there's a movie she did with Rachel McAdams, another kind of cute as a button type. But they have like a lesbian love scene where they're like spitting in each other's mouths and stuff. And it's like wild because you're so used to those two actresses just being like, "Oh, I'm just."
Oh yeah.
So when you see that, you're like, "Holy shit!" Like, what is this? When did this get made? And it's just like it's totally obscure movie. I can't even remember the title, but I remember being kind of blown away by that because I'm so used to Rachel Weisz just being adorable.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, that's a total tangent, but chain reaction. Adorable physicist, Keanu being kind of Keanu. This is 2 years after 94, so he was kind of in that mode. He was like in the chase, chain reaction. What's the surfing one? Point Break?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I guess he always upped the ante on the action. Just got bigger and badder.
Yeah.
Came Neo.
Yeah.
Basically computer Jesus.
This is pre-Neo.
Yeah, damn. Then we watched the movie Monkey Trouble, where the main bad guy is played by Harvey Keitel, essentially doing a gypsy version of the pimp character he plays in Taxi Driver. It's fucking like it's weird because he's like coming after this girl because she stole his monkey, but the way he stalks her is very creepy and uncomfortable. Monkey Trouble also stars Thora Birch, who it's also weird seeing her this young, being all kind of like, I'm just a badass little kid just trying to teach my monkey not to steal. And like 5 years later, she's in American Beauty doing that stuff, and it's like, oh, that's weird. And yeah, Monkey Trouble's pretty dumb. It
A
also,
monkey movie being dumb? No.
but I guess that's the thing is I love me a good monkey movie. Like MVP, Most Valuable Primate, had a great time with it. Dunstan Checks In, great time with it. Um, what was it? Katie from Born to Be was it Born to Be Wild?
Yeah.
Had a great time with that. This one, it's just the capuchin monkey is too. I don't know. It's like it's not doing exactly enough personality stuff. I think capuchins have been better actors and stuff, like Friends or Ace Ventura. I could probably think of a couple others, but I kind of like to stick with gorillas or humans in gorilla suits or chimps and orangutans. I just something about like the monkeyness just couldn't have enough personality to like carry it, and Thora Birch is just obnoxious in it.
Yeah.
I mean, she does a reasonably good job, but her scream and just it's piercing. It's just as bad in like Hocus Pocus. It's just This also had Christopher McDonald in it, so he showed up more than I anticipated through these movies we watched.
No.
And the only other thing I would say is that when Monkey Trouble came out, it was 1994, so I would have been 8 years old. And in the trailer, they played the song "What Is Love, Baby Don't Hurt Me," like, and that was right when that song was coming out.
Yeah.
And like, I loved that song as a little kid. So the trailer is just like kid finds a monkey. What Is Love playing? I was like, I have to see this movie, and like, my buddy Steve was just a little bit older than me, so starting to get into like, that's a baby movie. I can't watch that. And I never saw it until now, and then I was like, where's the "What Is Love" song drop? They never do it.
Not even for like the credits or anything?
No, I don't think so.
Just for the trailer, huh?
Just for the trailer. I mean, at least Nine at the Roxbury, they use the
Yeah.
song. But yeah, the Harvey Keitel thing is probably like he is doing something with what they gave him, but it is just odd because it's like he's creepy because he's
Had to be
fucking.
just for a paycheck because I mean, like he
Oh,
can
he
get
did
other
it. He did it for
work
his
and
kids. It's the
oh,
classic like I wanted to be in something that my kids would go see, and but it's just like you wanted your kids to see you as a gypsy pimp who's like abusive to kids and monkeys. Like I don't know. And that's what's crazy is this is the same. Somebody lined it up in the. Oh yeah, okay, here it is. I found it. Somebody's review of this, they gave it 1.5 stars. They go Harvey Keitel, 1991, Thelma and Louise, a movie we need to watch. By the way, I've never seen it.
mhm.
1992, Reservoir Dogs. 1993, The Piano. 1994, Goddamn Monkey Trouble. And then that same year, Harvey Keitel's The Wolf and Pulp Fiction. So he's like doing all this banger stuff, and then just somewhere in there is
Yeah.
Monkey Trouble.
The most banger of them all, Monkey
Oh,
Trouble.
well, yeah. If they had had What Is Love playing through the entire movie, just on a loop. So yeah, that is all the stuff I watched while Neil was in town, and I didn't watch any of it with you. I'm gonna try to find a way to, um, I don't know, get the file or something and show you the chase.
Yeah, yeah, figure
Um,
it out.
that was easily my favorite movie out of all of these. Given the Blade would be next, probably.
Hmm.
And then I don't know. So I'm sorry that Chain Reaction didn't quite do it for me, but I'd probably go uninvited
It's
after that.
it's pure nostalgia for me that I was the right age. I think it was like I don't know 7 or 8 when I saw it, and it was like, "Oh, this is so cool!"
Sure,
So
sure.
yeah, it's purely that.
I think for me that might have been a similar thing. Would have been In the Line of Fire
Hmm.
or The Fugitive. Maybe Air Force One, but that starts to become something a little different.
Hmm.
But one thing we did say about Chain Reaction was another movie that came out in the '90s that also had Charlie Sheen was The Arrival. Not Arrival, the Arrival. Do you remember that one?
I don't.
It's almost very similar. Like Charlie Sheen is a scientist in this weird secret project, and then he uncovers something or makes a discovery, and I think in that one he discovers aliens that have already been on Earth and have been working with humans, sort of X
Hmm.
Files ish. And but it's also this alien base that's emitting like tons of greenhouse gases, so it's also another kind of climate changey
Yeah, yeah.
90s thriller. So I was like, oh, Chain Reaction and The Arrival would go together really well. And then a third one is Mel Gibson's Conspiracy Theory,
Yeah.
which would. So we need to watch Conspiracy Theory. We need to watch The Arrival.
Then we'll watch a whole series of Captain Planet.
Yep. And then we will have solved climate change.
Yeah,
That was the
made
thing
the
that
world
we
better.
never did at the end of the '90s. That was just going to fix it. You know.
Yeah, you got to get the movies in the right order.
Yeah. It's kind of like Horcruxes or something like that. You have to watch it in a sequential order to solve
Yeah.
the world. But then, yeah, we talk about how there's this, 2012, we slipped into an alternate timeline where shit's awful and Trump won and all that other stuff. But then there's the Zetus Lapidus. What was that? Decom. Oh, I forget. It'll maybe come back to me, but that one they go up into space to do a show and start a band. And in that one, at the very beginning of the movie, they're like, Chelsea Clinton is president. And we're just like, that was what it was all supposed to be. It's like, we solve climate change, Chelsea Clinton becomes president, everything's fine, everything got fixed. And we just live in a utopia where all we gotta worry about is who's playing the big show up on the space base. We should have never slipped
There
in.
is an Arrival too, by the way.
The Arrival too?
Yeah.
Okay. I was just making sure
just-
that wasn't a sequel to the new Arrival,
No.
which the new Arrival's awesome. That's an actually like wonderful.
2 years
movie.
later.
Okay. Probably straight to DVD, I bet.
Oh, the first one was too.
No way.
I'm assuming based on this, but it was nominated. Oh, it won Best Home Video Release, Saturn Award, 1997. So it may have been.
Maybe it was just
Straight
a
to
good
video.
packaging, though. I could have
I don't
sworn
know,
that was in
maybe.
theater, but we don't need to waste time looking that up.
Yeah.
So let's do some quick movie news. We'll go back and forth. You do one, I do one, till we run out.
Okay.
You go first.
Well, I guess I'll start with Julian Sands being finally declared dead after being missing for a long time. If you don't recognize the name, I almost guarantee you know the face. He has over 156 acting credits. So he's on TV, he's in movies. He rarely gets a lead role, but is always, just a character. I almost guarantee you've seen his face before. You've been following the story a little better than I have, especially with the disappearance and stuff.
Sure, like, he's just been gone for 5 months, and a couple of the people that were with him, I think they found the remains before they found him, so it's pretty clear that that's what was going to be the outcome. They did find his remains as of today.
Yes.
I don't know, but yeah.
Maybe
They found it earlier, but that's at least the first I've heard
They
of.
found remains on June 24th, so fairly recently, and then it was finally positively identified.
Yeah.
Manner of death is still under investigation, pending further test results. Yeah, but sad loss all around. He was a good actor. I don't think he ever really got his due. Like
No.
I think he deserved a lead role in something. I mean, he's always done pretty good.
Maybe that's all it is. Like, I don't know if he's ever blown me away, but I've always appreciated his characters and stuff. My favorite roles of his, and there's plenty I haven't seen, but the scientist in Arachnophobia, I've been kind of quoting him ever since we watched that a couple months back. Just look highly aggressive. And just, we don't climb, Mr. Manley, we fly. And all stuff like that. And then he's also the emotionally, like, fragile pimp from Leaving Las Vegas.
No.
And he was a snarky, lovable asshole in Rose Red. That miniseries of Stephen King that we recently watched. That's something that's going to be coming up on our 2000s Stephen King list, I do believe.
Yeah.
But, great character actor. From all intents and purposes, from what I gathered, he was a really good guy, good family man. And yeah, when he went missing, it was because he was doing it in winter months that it made it difficult for the search to, like, be as thorough as it could have been, say, if it was in warmer months. But they do feel like happy that they were even able to find the remains. So I guess that's
Well,
the
yeah,
thing.
it's not exactly common for someone who's been missing for that long on, just some mountain peak.
Sure. Well, and he loved hiking apparently and all that stuff. So hopefully it wasn't prolonged or too painful or anything, as he died
Yeah.
doing what he loved to do. So yeah, rest
Yeah.
in peace to Julian Sands. Go watch some of his movies. Um, they announced the new Superman.
Oh,
It's David Corenswet. Have you ever heard of this guy?
I haven't. I don't think I'll look him up. I'm better with faces than I am names, though.
Sure. The only thing I think I've ever seen him in, or at least thought of, or like as soon as I was reading this article, I noticed was that he was that weird, creepy theater owner in Pearl. Ty
Oh,
West's, yeah, Pearl.
yeah.
So beyond that, I don't think I've seen him in anything else.
Well, he did a good
So
job in that.
yeah, he's got a Superman-y type look. I can
He
see it.
does. Yeah.
Doesn't weird me out. One other interesting part, though, I'm trying to find it in here. Um, okay, they announced Lois Lane too, and that's going to be
Oh,
played by Rachel Brosnahan. Do you recognize that name?
I don't.
She's in The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, and she's awesome in that show.
Oh, I do
Um,
recognize her face for sure.
yeah, she's been in other stuff definitely, but I need to finish Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. Actually, I really loved the first couple seasons, and then it kind of got a little more like over the top, jokey or like weird,
Hmm.
elaborate setups for like comedic scenes rather than telling this story of a early female comedian in New York
Yeah.
and such. But it is a good show, and she's great in it. So, and I can definitely see her playing a Lois Lane.
Yeah.
So I'm intrigued by it. The fact that James Gunn's going to be directing this one, and that's who's Lois Lane. Like this is starting to come together for me. Um, I am kind of a sucker for Superman movies,
Yeah.
but I like the old ones.
Yeah.
I did like the concepts and ideas they played around with in Man of Steel, but it's a bit too much of a Zack Snyder movie for me to
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
But like the whole controversy at the time where he had to snap Zod's neck and Superman doesn't kill. Like
Yeah.
I always thought people were like bitching and moaning too much about that. I was like, it was clear he was gonna destroy the whole planet. Or
Yeah.
like destroy all of humanity. It's like he gave a character like Superman the worst choice you could give him. Like, but that's also like it's the beginning of Superman, so that probably sticks in his head even more about how much he doesn't want to kill, and that's the whole thing.
Mhm.
But yeah, and then Superman. What was that one? The one with Kevin Spacey is Lex Luthor, Brandon Routh.
Um,
I can't. That was with the other. Wow, Brian something.
Superman Returns. Yes, Brian Routh,
Routh.
Routh,
Yeah, so that.
Routh,
And yeah, that one.
Brandon Routh.
Brandon Routh.
Yeah,
That
that's it.
one stunk. And that was also had Kevin Spacey, the pervert, as Lex Luthor, and the director was Bryan Singer, the pervert. So that was probably my least
Match made in
favorite.
heaven.
Yeah, I hope they're like in a jail cell together at some point, just making kiss. That's might be the only news thing I found.
We mentioned this earlier. I found, I mean, it's barely news, but the runtime for Ridley Scott's Napoleon movie has been revealed. It's 157 minutes, so a pretty long movie. But it is Ridley Scott. He tends to like longer films. He makes longer films usually, so not exactly terribly surprising.
Yeah.
But I'm interested to see it. And Ridley Scott has a lot of good stuff under his belt, and some that I didn't quite enjoy as much. But I'll still go see his movies, and I'm interested to see this one.
Yeah. I think he's getting a little disjointed in his old age, but he's still done so much good stuff that
Yeah,
I'll usually give him a shot. I think I'm done with his political thriller type stuff. There's
yeah.
one that I really hated. It had Michael Fassbender and Penelope Cruz in it. But there's one line that was hilarious in it. It might have been called The Informant or something like that. And they're at the
Hmm.
beginning and they're just like doing pillow talk in the bed. And that's like the sheets are moving and like they're coming in and out of the frame when the sheets are like flowing in front of the camera. And then it zooms in on Penelope Cruz and she goes, "I want you to finger fuck me." She says it like that, and then just cuts to Michael Fassbender's face, and he's like, "I can't believe you just said that." Just like the weird line delivery of it all. I remember dying laughing watching that with my buddy Sarah and Devin, and like it's just the weirdest line delivery ever of both of them. Maybe not ever, but yeah, you know what I mean. There's a lot of there's this article. I don't really care to read it because it's Star Wars news, and you know how that's been lately. Like they'll announce three
Oh yeah.
movies and then cancel three of them. But they're
I
talking
don't know why
about
they're announcing them at all.
sure,
Just get your
just
ducks in a row and then tell us.
yeah. But they're talking about how Ray's new movie is going to connect to the other films.
Yeah.
One's like, I am intrigued by the ones that they said they're going to make most recently. James Mangold's going to make one um, that's like the beginning of just the discovery of the Force and how to use its abilities and such. So they're going to go way, way back.
Hmm.
And I hope that Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny probably not going to do great. Doesn't
Yeah.
make them do the stupid studio thing where, oh, we hired a director and his last movie didn't make $500 million, so we better fire him and start over.
Yeah. The bar for what success is just so much higher now,
Yeah,
monetarily wise. I mean, the bar for monetary success is just so much higher.
yeah.
It's a different playing field for sure.
I guess we'll kind of close out on that. Is that the Flash is gonna bomb pretty hard and is bombing, and I think that that's. I mean, we don't need to get into the speculation of it, like, because there's plenty of other movie podcasts that do that and make a
Yeah.
whole show of it. But I think the narrative is like, is it superhero fatigue or da 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 da? And it's like, I just think studios are getting lazy and they're throwing a
Yeah.
ton of movie at stuff or ton of money at stuff with that isn't like a super thought out script, really shitty third acts. They're making movies that are supposed to be set up for other movies that are coming. Like
Yeah.
they aren't
Yeah.
even standalone functioning films themselves. Like I talked about Ant-Man Quantumanium and just that is just a total like let's set up phase 4 and introduce Jonathan Majors as the big bad and then oops, he looks like he assaulted a woman. Fuck.
Yeah.
And it's like, or yeah, they dump all this money into Indiana Jones, and it's like the audience for Indiana Jones isn't really there anymore, and
Yeah.
you're messing with the type of stuff he's like going after. It's like that was kind of the issue with the fourth Indiana Jones is they made it like aliens rather than like weird old
Yeah.
mythological stuff, and And so yeah, it's like they dump all this money into it. They make the movie over long, and then it doesn't make the money back, and they're like confused. And they're like, well, maybe we should just never make another movie with Indiana Jones or totally reboot it or whatever. And it's just like maybe bring the budget down. Don't spend so much on advertising. Really think about the script. Think about what you're working with. Maybe part of why Indiana Jones was so good was it was directed by Spielberg. Maybe people
Yeah.
don't really want to go back unless it's directed by Spielberg or yeah, like whatever it is. And I don't know. I think that is a lot of it because people clearly will go to a superhero movie if it's good. Apparently, that
Yeah.
second Spider Verse movie is awesome, and it's doing gangbusters. And then the Flash is failing,
Yeah.
and but I mean, kind of. I think, pretty sure the Batman was a hit, and maybe not
I
as.
certainly hope so. It was great. So
I know
I'm
it
pretty sure
was
it
a
did well.
hit, but I don't know if it was as huge as they want something like
Yeah.
Batman to be.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the thing is it's like no, it's a really good movie. Yeah, maybe they could have trimmed up the third act a little bit. Kind of ran into the usual superhero-y type third act issues.
Hmm.
But like they kind of kept it down. They didn't try to interconnect it. They just let it be a good movie. The great director, good score, all that stuff. And it did
Hmm.
well. The Flash just had too much baggage and Indiana Jones, I think, has maybe a bit too much, like, leaning too hard on nostalgia and doing a modern thing. Like, apparently, there's a lot of, like, the. It's different than deepfake. It's like whatever Disney did with Luke.
Yeah.
It's, yeah, the weird de aging. It's a different kind of thing
Yeah.
than deepfake, I guess, but it's weird. It just. Deepfake looks better. And
Yeah.
I don't know. There's just like awkward stuff. Like let's make Harrison Ford young again and make him Indiana Jones. It's like it's just awkward, man. Don't do that.
It's expensive too. Why can't he just be older? Like, why is that a bad thing? I don't get the decision.
Well, I guess that's the whole crux of it. Is this Dial of Destiny is like a time thing, or
Yeah.
and it's just like, but they,
I guess we'll see.
I
I don't know.
guarantee they put that in the script so they could do that to him, and we would see
Yeah.
young Indiana Jones again. And it's just like I don't think anybody wants to fucking see that.
Yeah. We've seen it. There's 3 movies of it.
Yeah, like what I wish they would have done is like brought back. Maybe he pops up. I doubt he does, but like short round
Yeah.
because he was awesome in Everything Everywhere All at Once. Or
Oh, absolutely.
but yeah, I don't know. It's just these big franchise things. They front load it with too much baggage.
Hmm.
And so I guess with the Star Wars stuff is I was thinking about this the other day. I was watching a movie reaction channel and they were watching The Last Jedi.
Hmm.
And I've decided I really don't like that movie. But it has some really great stuff in it. And I realize it's not even actually the story. It's just I do not like Ryan Johnson's writing. I don't like his script writing. Like
Hmm.
dialogue. It's corny as fuck. And so it's like you could have had the exact same plot of the movie and it would have I think it just would have worked better if you had a different script writer. I am going off on a tangent, not going off on that, but I also watched a film that was going over Lucas's treatment for 7, 8, and 9 that they rejected.
Yeah.
And a lot of like angry Star Wars geeks were like, they should have gone with those and not done what Disney did. But actually, what Lucas wrote is not really that far off from what's in the trilogy.
Yeah.
It's just this weird stylistic writing thing with the directors and stuff. So I am ending this on a positive note. What I'm saying is that I hope that this weird stage we're in where we got the writers' strike and all these studios are like dumping money onto well-known IP, and the streaming services are merging and fighting with each other. Like, I hope it starts to like kind of level out, and just
Yeah.
it sort of does just become like streaming's just the thing now, and yeah, you got about three options, and some of these like mid-budget movies are coming back, and they do this much money, they make us a profit, and perfect, fine. Like, maybe bring back more political thrillers, or yeah, just even stuff like maybe Chain Reaction, stuff like that, mid-budget
Yeah.
film. But I feel the fatigue isn't real. It's just people want a good story or a good version of something, and they want a
Yeah.
good solid beginning and a solid end. It's kind of what we've talked about before, where it's like you can do a Batman trilogy over and over again as long as it's good and you get an
Yeah.
interesting director and just change. That's like, oh, this is Fincher's Batman trilogy, or this is this one's Batman trilogy.
Hmm.
And so I don't think we've seen the best Star Wars movie yet. We might not see it for a long ass time. But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of like how The Dark Knight came out of nowhere and just kind of blew people away.
Yeah.
And it was just like, oh, holy shit. Like, and I think it'll be the same with a lot of superhero films. Like, certain characters, some director's gonna get them just right. And I don't know. I'm excited for that. I think there's gonna be some cool future Star Wars stuff, some cool future superhero stuff. But I think part of that is, yeah, people need to start writing new stuff and new ideas and
Yeah.
start telling stories that are more mid-budget or a little more from the ground up creative.
Hmm.
Yeah. Anyway, you got any other thoughts for this week?
I don't think so.
Well, that was longer than I expected it to be. Good job. We did about an hour and 11 minutes. So,
Nice.
I will talk to you next week.
Yeah. Have a good one.
Bye bye. Thank you for listening to The Jacob Wayne Show. If you would like to contact us, please write us at fakoshka@gmail.com. That is FAKOSHKA@gmail.com. You can find us on Spotify, iTunes, and YouTube. Simply search The Jacob Wayne Show and it should pop right up. Make sure you like and subscribe and leave a review and share this podcast with your friends. Please write us. It helps add content to the show and makes the show even better for you, the listener. Thanks for tuning in. Welcome to